Teaching techniques. A surd is a square root which cannot be reduced to a whole number. It's important that pupils know which square roots can be reduced to a whole number, so any square number can be reduced to a whole number. It's important that these are recognised. So the square root of 2 is a surd. The square root of 8 is a surd. But the square root of 81 is not a surd, because the square root of 81 is 9. When starting surds, I would work with a calculator and ask pupils to evaluate the square root of 2 and the square root of 8, and they will notice that the answer is not a whole number. I'd ask them to use their calculations to multiply the square root of 2 by the square root of 8 to find the solution is 4, and then to try it with other questions, like the square root of 2 multiplied by the square root of 18, which gives you the answer 6. When pupils do the first on a calculator and they get the answer 4, I ask them to think about what 4 is the square root of. Again, when they do the second on a calculator and get the answer 6, consider what is 6 the square root of. 4 is the square root of 16, and 6 is the square root of 36. Pupils can then very quickly see that to multiply surds together, it's a simple case of multiplying the numbers together. The square root of 2 multiplied by the square root of 8 is the square root of 16, which is 4. The square root of 2 multiplied by the square root of 18 is the square root of 36, which is 6. This can then be used for other values, like the square root of 3 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 15. Pupils can use their calculators to prove this. The general rule is the square root of a times the square root of b is equal to the square root of ab. Moving on to simplifying surds. To start with, I ask pupils to write down all the square numbers up to 100, as these will be needed in the lesson. The square root of 18 can be written in several ways. The square root of 2 times the square root of 9, or the square root of 3 times the square root of 6, or the square root of 1 multiplied by the square root of 18. However, what we're looking for is a square factor, or a square number, that is a factor of 18. 9 is the largest square number that goes into 18. So the square root of 18 is in fact the square root of 9 multiplied by the square root of 2. The square root of 9 can be evaluated to 3, so the square root of 18 in its simplest form is 3 root 2. Root 20 can be written as root 4 times root 5. Sometimes people try things like root 2 multiplied by root 10, and they need to be reminded that they are looking for a square factor. Square root of 4 can be evaluated to 2, so the square root of 20 simplified is 2 root 5. The square root of 48. 48 has 2 square factors. 4 goes into 48 and 16 goes into 48. It is important that you look for the largest square factor, so the square root of 16 multiplied by the square root of 3. We can evaluate the square root of 16, which is 4, so the simplified version of this is 4 root 3. However, if pupils select the square root of 4 as their square factor and get 2 root 12, this is not the simplified version, because 12 also has a square factor. So this is 2 multiplied by root 4 multiplied by root 3. Because root 12 is made from root 4 times root 3, root 4 can be evaluated to 2. 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by root 3. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Multiplied by root 3 is 4 root 3.